Welcome to our journey through the heart of one of the most unique and enduring lifestyles in human history, Bohemianism. If you've ever wondered what it truly means to be Bohemian, or how it evolved from an underground movement into a symbol of creative freedom and self-expression, you're in the right place. Today we'll dive deep into the origins, ideals, and ongoing appeal of the Bohemian way of life. Whether you're an artist, a dreamer, or just someone curious about alternative cultures, this video will give you the full picture of Bohemianism and why it continues to inspire millions across the globe. So what does being Bohemian really mean? And why did it become so popular? Let's begin. Bohemianism traces its roots back to 19th century France, particularly in the bustling, romantic heart of Paris. But even before that, the term Bohemian was used in Europe to describe the Romani people, who were wrongly believed to have come from the Bohemia region in modern-day Czechia, or Czech Republic. Their nomadic lifestyle, poverty, and perceived exoticism left a mark on European culture, and soon the term Bohemian became associated with people living outside the norms of mainstream society. By the mid-19th century, this term had shifted to describe a specific group of people: artists, writers, and intellectuals living in Paris's Latin Quarter and Montmartre. These were individuals who rejected the growing industrialization, wealth, and rigid class structures of society. Instead, they pursued lives centered on creativity, personal freedom, and experiences over material wealth. The Industrial Revolution was transforming Europe. Cities were growing, factories were booming, and wealth was accumulating. But this came with a cost. People were increasingly driven by material success and social status, but not everyone found this fulfilling. For many artists and thinkers, the bustling factories, the rigid schedules, and the pursuit of wealth felt hollow. And so, in opposition to this emerging culture of consumerism, the Bohemians took a stand. They sought meaning in art, in conversation, in living a life that prioritized passion and individualism. This early Bohemian movement became not just a lifestyle, but a philosophy. So, what does it mean to live a Bohemian lifestyle? Bohemianism is often characterized by a rejection of conventional values, especially those tied to wealth, status, and conformity. Bohemians don't follow the rules of society because they believe that true freedom comes from within. They live by their own moral compass, embracing creativity, spontaneity, and a willingness to break away from the ordinary. Let's break down some of the core values that define Bohemian life. Nonconformity. Bohemians thrive on defying societal expectations. Whether it's through their fashion choices, their relationships, or their lifestyle, Bohemians believe in pushing boundaries. This attitude dates back to the original artists and writers in 19th century Paris, who rejected both the bourgeois and the aristocracy. To be Bohemian is to be free from labels, from expectations, and from the rat race of life. Nonconformity wasn't just about art. It was a rebellion against the entire structure of society. When the rest of the world wore tailored suits, Bohemians dressed in second-hand, loose-fitting clothes that allowed for comfort and ease. Their spaces were often messy, filled with books, canvases, and instruments. Living simply and focusing on creativity became the norm, not the exception. At the heart of Bohemianism lies art. Whether it's painting, writing, music, or performance, Bohemians see creativity not just as a hobby, but as a way of life. For them, art is a way of expressing their deepest emotions, their thoughts, and their protest against societal norms. Being an artist was never just about creating something beautiful. It was about channeling personal and societal struggles into your work. Early Bohemians like the poet Charles Baudelaire, artist Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, and writer Victor Hugo were pioneers in turning art into a form of rebellion. They believed that life itself should be a creative endeavor, and they used their work to challenge political, social, and cultural structures. Another unique aspect of Bohemian life is a sense of romanticism, an idealistic belief in the beauty of life, even in the face of hardship. For Bohemians, life is about passion, whether that's found in love, in art, or in nature. Romanticism allows Bohemians to see the world not for what it is, but for what it could be. Bohemians believe in living in the moment. They see magic in the mundane and draw inspiration from everything around them. This idealism fuels their art, their relationships, and their sense of freedom. Contrary to the stereotype of the starving artist working in isolation, Bohemians thrive in communities. Cafes, salons, and gathering spaces became the hubs where these free spirits would come together to share ideas, create art, and inspire one another. These communal spaces gave rise to some of the greatest artistic movements in history. Impressionism, Surrealism, and the Beat Generation all had their roots in Bohemian communities, where collaboration was encouraged and artists could find solace in one another's struggles. Freedom of expression. Perhaps the most important value in Bohemianism is the freedom to be yourself. Bohemians believe that everyone should have the right to express themselves however they see fit, whether that's through art, fashion, relationships, or personal beliefs. This freedom is liberating, but also comes with its own challenges. Living outside societal norms means often being misunderstood or judged, but for Bohemians, this is a small price to pay for authenticity. They're willing to take the road less traveled in pursuit of their truth. The rise of Bohemian popularity. By now you might be wondering, how did a small group of eccentric artists turn into a global cultural phenomenon? How did Bohemianism grow from Parisian cafes to influence everything from fashion to music to modern lifestyle trends? To understand this, we need to look at the cultural shifts that have happened over the past century. Bohemian influence in the early 20th century. The early 20th century was a time of great upheaval. World War I, the rise of fascism, and the Great Depression created a sense of disillusionment with mainstream society. Artists, writers, and intellectuals sought out alternative ways of living, and Bohemianism provided an answer. The Bohemian ethos found its way into the avant-garde movements of the early 20th century. The Dadaists and Surrealists, for example, rejected traditional values and used art to express their critique of society. In America, the Harlem Renaissance flourished, giving voice to Black artists and intellectuals, many of whom embraced Bohemian ideals of freedom, expression, and creativity. The Beat Generation and the hippie movement. Fast forward to the 1950s, and we see the rise of the Beat Generation. Writers like Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, and William S. Burroughs rejected conventional life, choosing instead to live in a nomadic, free, spirited way. The Beats were heavily influenced by Bohemian ideals, focusing on experience, art, and individuality. In the 1960s, this spirit of rebellion and nonconformity gave rise to the hippie movement. Peace, love, and communal living became the new Bohemian ideals, and millions of young people around the world rejected mainstream life in favor of creativity, personal freedom, and spirituality. Modern-day Bohemianism. Today, Bohemianism lives on. While it's taken many forms over the years, from the hipster culture of the early 2000s to the rise of eco-conscious minimalist lifestyles, its core values of freedom, individuality, and creativity remain the same. In fact, the Bohemian lifestyle has become even more relevant in today's digital age. With the rise of social media, more people than ever are sharing their creative journeys, showcasing alternative lifestyles and building communities around art, freedom, and nonconformity. Whether it's through Instagram posts or creative online businesses, the Bohemian spirit continues to inspire millions of people around the world. Why Bohemianism became so popular. Now let's dive into why Bohemianism became such a popular and influential lifestyle. While its roots lie in the artistic circles of 19th century Paris, its appeal spread rapidly across different social groups, countries, and generations. Why? Because at its core, Bohemianism resonates with something deeply human. The desire for freedom, creativity, and a rejection of rigid societal expectations. Let's explore the key reasons why Bohemianism took off and continues to inspire people today. A response to materialism and industrialization. The rise of industrialization in the 19th century led to a massive shift in society. As factories expanded, cities grew, and economies boomed, people became increasingly focused on material wealth, success, and the status quo. But not everyone was on board with this new direction. For many, the pursuit of money, possessions, and status felt hollow. Bohemianism offered an alternative, a way of living that prioritized experiences over possessions, creativity over conformity, and freedom over financial security. In a world where people were working long hours in factories, the Bohemian lifestyle, with its emphasis on art and spontaneity, became a refuge for those who wanted to live life on their own terms. This rejection of materialism is still a huge draw today. In our modern world of consumerism, where we are constantly bombarded by advertisements and pressured to accumulate more stuff, Bohemianism stands as a beacon of minimalist, intentional living. It's not about how much you own, it's about how deeply you experience life. The allure of creative freedom. One of the most magnetic aspects of the Bohemian lifestyle is its emphasis on creative freedom. For artists and creatives, Bohemianism represents a life where their art is not constrained by the demands of commerce or societal expectations. It's about creating for the sake of expression, not for financial gain or approval. This idea of freedom extends beyond just art. Bohemians also challenge traditional norms in areas like relationships, fashion, and personal identity. They don't just create unconventional art, they live unconventional lives. This is why Bohemianism became so popular among artists, musicians, and writers, people who saw life as their canvas. In an age where many jobs are focused on efficiency, productivity, and profit, Bohemianism's emphasis on creativity and personal expression continues to attract those who feel stifled by modern work culture. Romanticism and escapism. Bohemianism became popular in part because it represented a form of romantic escapism. For those tired of the mundane, everyday struggles of life, Bohemianism offered an idyllic, artistic, and idealistic way of living. It's a lifestyle that romanticizes everything, from late-night conversations in dimly lit cafes to spontaneous travels through foreign lands. In a Bohemian world, the pursuit of beauty, love, and creativity transcends the ordinary. Bohemians see magic in every experience, and their idealism drives them to seek out meaning in every corner of life. This romanticism is timeless and appeals to those looking for an escape from the harsh realities of modern life. Even in today's fast-paced world, where technology and schedules dominate, the Bohemian spirit calls for slowing down and finding beauty in the smallest moments. The appeal of community. Bohemianism thrives in community settings. Throughout history, Bohemian artists and thinkers have gathered in tight-knit groups, sharing ideas, inspiration, and support. This sense of community was, and still is, a core part of the Bohemian experience. In Paris, the cafes and artist salons of the 19th century became the breeding grounds for revolutionary ideas and movements. The Bohemians thrived on collaboration, bouncing ideas off one another and challenging each other's work. This communal spirit is one reason why Bohemianism spread so quickly. It wasn't just a solitary pursuit, but a movement that grew in clusters of like-minded individuals. In today's digital age, this sense of community is easier to access than ever before. Online communities, social media platforms, and artist collectives allow Bohemians to connect, share, and collaborate on a global scale. Whether it's through a shared love of art, travel, or nonconformity, Bohemian communities continue to thrive in both physical and virtual spaces. Counterculture movements. Over the past century, Bohemianism has played a critical role in various counterculture movements. From the Beat generation of the 1950s to the hippies of the 1960s, Bohemian ideals have consistently fueled social and political revolutions. The Beats, for example, rejected mainstream American culture in favor of a life of artistic exploration and spiritual seeking. They were influenced by Bohemian ideals of freedom, nonconformity, and individualism. In the 1960s, the hippie movement adopted many of these same ideals, expanding them into broader political and social critiques of war, capitalism, and civil rights. Bohemianism has always been about challenging the status quo, and this rebellious spirit continues to attract people who are dissatisfied with societal norms. In modern times, Bohemian ideals resonate with movements advocating for environmentalism, minimalism, and social justice. People who feel disillusioned with corporate life, capitalism, and mass consumerism often find themselves drawn to the Bohemian way of living. The influence on fashion and popular culture. Another reason Bohemianism became so popular is its impact on fashion and culture. In the 20th century, Bohemian fashion, often characterized by loose, flowing garments, eclectic patterns, and handmade or vintage clothing, became a symbol of nonconformity. The look was effortless, yet purposeful, and stood in stark contrast to the polished, tailored styles of the mainstream. In the 2000s, the boho chic trend brought this eclectic fashion to the forefront of popular culture. Stars like Sienna Miller and Kate Moss helped popularize this look, combining elements of vintage clothing, ethnic patterns, and free-spirited accessories. Bohemianism was no longer just lifestyle for artists. It became a mainstream fashion statement. But it wasn't just fashion that Bohemianism influenced. Its ideas spread into music, art, and film, shaping countercultural movements like punk, grunge, and indie rock. The romanticized image of the starving artist, the idea of living for passion and not for profit, and the rejection of societal norms, all of these Bohemian principles became woven into the fabric of popular culture. Modern-day Bohemianism and its legacy. Now that we've explored the origins and rise of Bohemianism, let's look at how it manifests today. While some aspects of the Bohemian lifestyle have evolved, its core values, creativity, freedom, and nonconformity, remain as relevant as ever. The digital nomad and creative entrepreneur. In the 21st century, the Bohemian spirit has found a new home in the rise of digital nomads and creative entrepreneurs. These individuals embody the Bohemian ideal of living outside conventional structures, whether that's a 9-to-5 job, a traditional home, or a materialistic lifestyle. With the advent of the internet and remote work, more and more people are choosing to work from anywhere in the world. The freedom to travel, create, and live by one's own rules aligns perfectly with the Bohemian ethos. In many ways, today's digital nomads and online creators are modern-day Bohemians, embracing a life of creativity and freedom. Sustainability and minimalism. Another way modern Bohemianism has evolved is through the sustainability and minimalism movements. With increasing concerns about climate change and consumerism, more people are adopting simpler, more intentional lifestyles that prioritize sustainability over excess. The minimalist lifestyle, living with fewer possessions and focusing on experiences, shares many values with Bohemianism. It's not about what you own, but how you live. Many people today are drawn to the Bohemian ethos of simplicity, creativity, and conscious living. Would you become a Bohemian? In conclusion, Bohemianism is more than just a lifestyle. It's a mindset. From its humble beginnings in the cafes of Paris to its influence on modern-day fashion, art, and culture, Bohemianism continues to inspire those who seek freedom, creativity, and individuality. As the world becomes more complex, the timeless appeal of Bohemianism offers a way to break free from societal pressures and live a life guided by passion, creativity, and authenticity. Whether through art, community, or alternative ways of living, the Bohemian spirit is alive and well. So, what do you think? Do you feel the pull of the Bohemian lifestyle? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into alternative lifestyles and culture.